The galaxy was never quiet. Across the black ocean of space, thousands of signals flew between worlds every second. Trade agreements, fleet reports, political debates, and endless arguments between alien governments. But tonight, something strange happened. In the sector known to the Zelver species as the Empty Reach, a deep space listening post caught an unusual reading. At first, technician Laro thought it was an error. The radar spike was too big, too sharp, like a mountain suddenly appearing in the middle of an ocean. He checked the instruments twice, then 3 times, no error. Something huge had just entered the sector. Laro frowned, his thin insect-like antennae twitching. What in the stars? He muttered. The object was not broadcasting any identification signal, illegal for any ship in civilized space. It wasn't sending navigation beacons, warnings, or any communication at all. It just moved, slowly, steadily, straight toward the heart of the galaxy. Laro called for his superior. Within minutes, the small listening post was in chaos. Senior Officer Drevin stared at the readings in disbelief. "It's not a comet, not an asteroid," he whispered. "The shape. This is manufactured. This is a ship. A very big ship." The sensors struggled to measure it, but the rough scan suggested it was almost 10 kilometers long. That was impossible. The largest warship in the galaxy, the Rask Dominion's Iron Spear, was only 2 kilometers. Drevin tapped the console again, his scaled fingers shaking. Where in the void did this thing come from? The rumor spreads within hours. The report traveled far beyond the small listening post. Fleet commanders from every major alien empire studied the strange contact. The unknown was moving at sublight speed, heading toward the central trade routes. The Zelvar Senate declared an emergency meeting. The Rask Dominion dispatched scout ships to intercept. The Varith Coalition sent spy drones to record the intruder. Every race wanted answers, and every race wanted the glory of capturing it. Some thought it might be an abandoned supership from an ancient war. Others whispered it was a ghost vessel, cursed and deadly. The more paranoid claimed it was a weapon from the mythical precursors, beings who vanished millions of years ago. But no one guessed the truth. The first sight, 3 days later, the Rask Dominion scout ship laid tail and made contact. Captain Krivuk, a reptilian warrior with thick crimson armor plates, stood at the observation deck as the massive silhouette appeared. The ship was dark gray, almost black, with sharp lines and an angular hull that seemed predatory. No running lights, no visible engine glow. Just a silent shape gliding through the void. Krivuk's crew tried to scan it. No luck. The ship's hull gave off some kind of interference. Even advanced bioscanners showed nothing inside. No life signs, no power readings, nothing. "Is it dead?" one officer asked. Krivuk narrowed his yellow eyes. "No, look at the vector. It's moving with purpose." They hailed it. "Unknown vessel, identify yourself. You are entering Rask Dominion territory without clearance." No reply. "Unknown vessel, respond immediately or we will open fire." Still nothing. Krivuk felt a shiver crawl along his armored spine. He'd fought pirates, rival fleets, and even the giant void beasts that lurked between the stars. But something about this felt wrong. The first mistake, the Dominion War Council didn't have Krivuk's instincts. When his report reached them, they ordered immediate action. 5 Dominion war cruisers moved to block the intruder's path. They lined up in formation, weapons charged, shields glowing. Krivuk's blade talon stayed back, observing. The lead cruiser sent another warning. Still no response. So they fired. Blue plasma lances shot through the darkness, striking the intruder's hull. The energy waves rippled across its surface and vanished, absorbed like water into sand. No damage. No reaction. Krivuk's eyes widened. Stars help us. The awakening. For exactly 12 minutes after the attack, the giant ship did nothing. The alien crew started to think maybe it was dead after all. Then, without any visible movement, a section of the ship's hull lit up with a deep red glow. A single beam of light, thin at first, then wide as a battleship, cut through the void. It touched the nearest Dominion cruiser. In an instant, the cruiser was gone. No explosion, no debris, just gone. The remaining 4 Dominion ships, panicked. They fired everything they had: plasma, missiles, gravity torpedoes, but none of it even scratched the intruder's hull. Then the beam fired again. Another ship vanished. The surviving captain screamed over comms, demanding orders, but there was nothing they could do. The giant ship drifted forward, slow and unstoppable, as if the Dominion fleet didn't exist. Whispers of humanity. Krivak's crew finally caught a break in the interference. The hull markings came into focus. Strange symbols in a language no one recognized. Except for one word, repeated twice. It was written in alien translation script: humanity. The word meant nothing to most of the galaxy. Some recalled vague trade rumors, small primitive creatures from a blue world far from the core. A species barely spacefaring, ignored by the great powers, and yet, here was a ship unlike anything in known history, and it bore their name. Fear in the high councils. News spread fast. On the capital world of the Varith Coalition, Chancellor Ilvan slammed a clawed hand on the table. A primitive species cannot possess such technology. This is a deception. Someone else built it. Across the galaxy, the Krivuth empires. Emperor snarled, "If the humans have this, they must be destroyed before they use it against us." But a few voices were quieter, older, wiser. High Scholar Velra of the Ithari race whispered to her students, "The old stories speak of them. The forgotten children, the last survivors of the old war. The pursuit." The unknown warship, now nicknamed the Ghost of Iron, did not slow down. It passed through minor systems without harming anyone, ignoring the frantic attempts to contact. Alien fleets shadowed it from a distance, careful not to provoke another attack. But the galaxy's most feared warlord, Admiral Krivak of the Krivuth Empire, had other plans. His fleet of 50 battleships moved to intercept in the Draxon Corridor, a narrow trade route between star clusters. There, he planned to trap the ghost ship and board it. The trapped Krivak's ships formed a wall across the corridor. In the distance, the human ship appeared, massive, silent, unshaken. Krivak's voice rumbled over comms. "Unknown vessel, you are surrounded. Shut down engines and prepare to be boarded." No reply. "Very well. Prepare grappling fields." The fleet launched energy nets designed to disable smaller ships. The glowing web struck the human vessel and disintegrated instantly. Krivak growled in frustration. "Fire the pulse cannons." Dozens of blinding blue blasts tore through space and were absorbed harmlessly into the ship's hull. Krivak's second-in-command turned pale. "Sir, it's not even raising shields." The warning. For the first time, the ghost ship transmitted a signal. It was not in any known galactic language, but somehow, every listener understood the meaning. A deep human voice spoke. "Stand aside. This is not your fight." The words were calm, not threatening, but every alien who heard them felt an icy weight in their chest. Krivak snarled, "I do not take orders from phantoms. Attack." The second mistake, the human ship moved for the first time. Not drifting, but accelerating. Faster than any battleship could track. It passed through the Krivuth battle line, not around. Through. Ships that touched its hull simply vanished. Krivak roared in rage, ordering pursuit. But the human vessel was already gone, disappearing into the deep lanes of the galaxy. The chase begins now. Every empire wanted the same thing, to find out where this warship was going. Some wanted to destroy it. Some wanted to claim it. And a few, in secret, wanted to help it, because somewhere in the far darkness, Something else had started moving. Something older. Something worse, Doc, but the galaxy didn't know that yet. All they knew was that the humans had returned, and their power was unseen. The galaxy had not slept since the ghost ship appeared. Every news channel, every military command center, every dark corner of the black market whispered the same question. Who are the humans, and what do they want? The silent warship had moved deeper into the galaxy, ignoring warnings, ignoring threats. It did not slow down. It did not hide. It did not care, but now something had changed. Admiral Kravax's fury on the Kravath Empire's flagship Iron Maw. Admiral Kravax stood before a massive holomap. His yellow eyes blazed as his claws tapped the glowing surface. Track it. I don't care what it takes. We will bring it down. His second-in-command, a nervous officer named Jurul, spoke carefully. Sir, the fleet losses were significant. The creature ship destroyed 20 of our best warships without effort. Kravax's lip curled into a snarl. That was not a battle. That was a mistake. My mistake. I underestimated them. Now, he leaned closer to the map. We strike with everything. The pursuit through the void across the black lanes of space. The Kravath battle fleet began. The chase. The human warship was massive, but strangely, it did not try to outrun them. It kept its steady pace, like a predator walking in plain sight. Jurl watched the readings with unease. Sir, it knows we are following. It wants us to see it. Kravax's voice was cold. Then we will show it what the Kravath Empire does to those who mock us. The trap at Cernai Drift. Hours later, the human ship entered the Cernai Drift, a sector filled with floating debris fields and ion storms. It was the perfect place for an ambush. Kravax's fleet fanned out, cloaking themselves in the debris clouds. Dozens of stealth drones moved ahead, scanning for weak points in the human vessel. But every scan returned the same result. No data. It was as if the ship didn't just block sensors. It swallowed them. The first shot. Kravax didn't wait for permission from the Emperor. This was his hunt. All ships, he barked. Fire on my mark. The void lit up. Plasma beams, kinetic slugs, missile swarms, enough firepower to melt a moon, slammed into the human vessel. For 5 long seconds, the darkness was filled with fire. Then, silence. The smoke cleared. The human warship floated untouched, its hull still dark and cold. Jurul's voice shook. Sir, no effect. Kravax's claws dug into the console. Then we hit it harder. Bring in the siege cannons. The response. The Kravath siege cannons were designed to destroy planetary shields. They fired massive plasma orbs the size of city blocks. 3 glowing spheres roared toward the human ship and vanished. Not exploded. Not deflected. Just disappeared into the ship's surface like raindrops into an ocean. Jurul's voice trembled. Sir, it's absorbing the attacks. Before Kravax could answer, the human ship moved. The beam A section of the ship's forward hull lit up with a deep crimson glow. The light grew brighter. And then a single thin beam shot out. It struck one of the Kravath destroyers. No sound. No explosion. The ship simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there. The next, gone. The beam fired again. Another destroyer vanished. Panic exploded through the Kravath comm channels. They're wiping us out. Shields useless. Get us out of here. The fear. For the first time in his long career, Kravax felt something alien to him. Fear. This was not an enemy to fight head-on. This was something beyond war. He ordered a retreat, but the human ship didn't chase. It simply turned away, resuming its original course as if swatting away insects. Jurl stared after it. Why didn't it finish us? Kravax didn't answer. Deep down, he feared the truth. It hadn't come here for them. The galactic reaction word of the destruction at Cernai Drift reached every corner of the galaxy. The Zelvar Senate declared the humans a level Omega threat. the Varith coalition began evacuating frontier colonies. Even the pirate kings of the Outer Rim swore never to approach the warship, but a few were curious. Scholar Velra's discovery. High Scholar Velra, of the Ithari race, sat in her quiet library, reading ancient digital scrolls. Her silver eyes reflected the glowing words, "The children who walked in shadow, the last to stand against the darkness, the unseen power," she whispered to herself. They were not destroyed after all. She activated a secure channel to her allies. We must speak to the humans before the others destroy them or provoke them. The warning. 2 days later, the human ship finally transmitted a second message. This time, it was broadcast across all open channels in the galaxy. The voice was calm, male, deep, the same as before. "This is not your fight. Stand aside and live." The words caused riots in some worlds and celebrations in others. Some took it as a threat, others as a warning. Kravax heard it in his private war room and slammed his fist on the table. "I will not be told where I can fight. Not by them. Not by anyone." The decision. The Krivith Emperor, however, thought differently. After seeing the destruction at Cernite Drift, he ordered all forces to pull back, but Kravax disobeyed. He gathered a smaller, faster strike group, 20 elite warships armed with experimental weapons. "We will strike again," he told his crew. "And this time, we will take their ship." The second engagement, Ravix's strike group caught up to the human vessel near the Helix Rift, a swirling storm of blue and violet energy. The rift's gravity waves could tear a normal ship apart, but the human vessel glided through them effortlessly. Kravax's ships fired their experimental disruptors designed to disable power cores. This time, something happened. A faint shimmer appeared across the human ship's hull, like ripples in water. "Shields," Jurel gasped. "It finally raised shields." Kravax smiled sharply. "We can hurt it." The counterattack, but his smile vanished. Seconds later, the human ship accelerated impossibly fast and was suddenly inside their formation. Massive shockwaves rippled out, throwing Kravax's ships off course. Then, from the human ship's sides, dozens of small, sharp-edged objects launched into space. They were not missiles, they were drones. Invisible until they moved, they sliced through Kravax's ships like knives through paper. Hulls split open silently. Crews vanished into the void. Kravax watched half his strike group vanish in under a minute. The escape for the second time. Kravax ordered a retreat. His pride burned like fire, but he knew this was no ordinary enemy. The human vessel did not pursue. Instead, it sent a final message directly to Kravax's ship. "The darkness is coming. You waste your strength on the wrong enemy." Kravax stared at the words for a long time. He didn't understand them, but something in his gut told him they were not a threat. They were a warning. The quiet before the storm, the human ship vanished into the rift. No one knew where it went. In the days that followed, strange reports came from the galaxy's outer edges. Ships disappearing, colonies going dark, unexplained energy. Signatures. In her library, Scholar Velra read the old stories again, her hands shaking. "They're not here to conquer," she whispered. "They're here because something else is coming." But it was already too late. Because far beyond the galactic rim, in the cold dark where no light reached, something ancient was waking up. The galaxy was restless. For weeks, the ghostly human warship had moved like a shadow between the stars. Alien fleets tried to follow, but it was always one step ahead. Some called it the Phantom Blade. Others called it the Endbringer. But one truth was becoming clear. Wherever it went, destruction followed. And yet, the destruction was never against civilians or undefended worlds. Only military fleets that attacked it. And now, the galaxy's most powerful empires were meeting. The War Council in the high orbit of the neutral world Sorith Prime, A massive station floated like a steel crown. Inside, representatives of every major empire gathered in the Great Hall. Chancellor Ilvan of the Varith Coalition slammed his clawed hand on the table. We cannot allow this human ship to move unchecked. It has destroyed fleets from 3 empires already. We must unite and crush it before it strikes again. General Threx of the Zelver hissed in agreement. Our listening posts record that it moves toward the central trade lanes. If it reaches the core worlds, Scholar Velra interrupted softly. If it wanted to harm our core worlds, it would have done so already. The humans have ignored every target except military fleets that attacked first. Ilvan's eyes narrowed. And you think this means they are harmless? Velra shook her head. No, I think it means they are here for a reason. One we don't understand yet. The news from the rim before the council could argue further. A messenger drone burst into the chamber, projecting a frantic transmission. A Krivith patrol captain appeared, his face pale and eyes wide. This is Captain Ralos, Outer Rim Post Delta 7. We are under attack by unknown forces. The feed dissolved into static. Then, for a single second, the screen showed a dark shape, jagged, alive, covered in moving spines, before the signal cut out completely. Velra's voice was almost a whisper. It has begun. The black ship's reports poured in from the rim sectors. Entire colonies gone silent. Mining fleets vanishing without distress calls. Traders speaking of ships made of shadow and bone, moving without engines, tearing vessels. Apart like paper, they were nothing like the human warship. No clean precision, no warning. Only slaughter. Some old Ithari texts named them the Devourers. Others called them the Darkness Beyond. In every version, they were the enemy that ended. The old war. Velra understood now. The humans weren't here to conquer. They were here to fight these things. The human message. Then for the first time, the human warship sent a public transmission to all systems. The screen showed no human face, only a symbol, a silver star. On a black field, a voice spoke in perfect translation. To all who hear this, stay away from the rim. Evacuate your colonies. The enemy you face is not one you can defeat alone. We will engage them, stand aside and survive. The voice paused. Then quieter. This galaxy does not yet understand the danger it faces. The panic the message caused. Chaos. Some governments obeyed immediately, pulling their fleets back and ordering civilian evacuations. Others accused the humans of spreading fear to control territory. Admiral Kravax, still recovering from his defeats, stood before the Krivith Emperor and declared, "They want us out of the rim so they can claim it. This enemy is just a story." But Kravax didn't know that far out in the dark. The story was already very real. The shadow at Durnus. Belta's Zelvar convoy of 6 freighters and 2 escorts moved through the asteroid fields of Durnus Belt. Their scanners picked up movement. Dozens of contacts closing fast. At first, they thought it was pirates. Then the shapes emerged. Black spined vessels gliding without thrusters, their hulls shifting like they were alive. The escort captain ordered weapons ready, but it was too late. The black ship struck with impossible speed, ramming through holes, cutting through metal like cloth. In less than 5 minutes, the convoy was gone, the gathering fleets back in the Great Hall. Velra stood before the council with ancient star maps. These are the paths from the old war. They show where the Devourers came from and where they will strike again. If these patterns hold, they will reach the central systems in less than 3 months. Ilvan scowled. And you propose what? That we ally with the humans? Velra met his gaze. I propose we listen to them. Because they are the only ones who have fought this enemy before. And lived. The meeting, it was decided, reluctantly, to send a delegation to intercept the human ship. A Varith cruiser, an Ithari diplomatic vessel, and 2 Zelvar escorts moved to a point along the warship's projected path. For 2 days they waited in the cold dark. Then, it arrived. The human vessel was even larger up close. Its hull seemed to swallow light. No windows, no visible weapons, yet its presence was suffocating. The delegation sent a hail. "This is Envoy Talron of the Galactic Council. We wish to speak with your commander." There was silence for a long moment. Then the same deep voice replied, "Approach, but do not bring weapons." Inside the beast only, the Ithari vessel dared move closer. A docking port opened on the human ship, and the delegation entered. Inside, the corridors were wide and dark, lit only by faint blue lines in the walls. The air was heavy, and strange sounds echoed far away like distant thunder. Finally, they reached a chamber where a single human waited. He was tall, armored in black and silver, his face weathered and his eyes like steel. "I am Captain Rhys Arden," he said, "commander of the Saul's Wrath. You have questions? Ask them quickly." The Truth Velra spoke first. "We know of the Devourers. We believe they have returned." Arden's expression hardened. "They never left. We have been hunting them for centuries, across dead galaxies. Your worlds are next." Ilvin's voice was sharp. "And why should we trust you?" Arden's reply was colder still. "You don't have to. But if you fight us instead of them, you will not survive long. Enough to regret it." The ultimatum, the meeting, ended with no agreement. The humans promised to fight the Devourers, but refused to share their weapons or technology. As the delegation left, Arden gave a final warning. "Gather your fleets. Stay out of our path. And when the time comes, decide if you will fight beside us or die alone." The first great battle, only a week later. The first major clash between the humans and the Tanbuspati. The first major clash between the humans, Devourers was recorded. It happened in the shadow of the red giant star Morath. The Saul's Wrath arrived just as 20 Devourer ships attacked a Zelvar defense line. The human ship moved like a predator unleashed, its weapons tearing the black vessels apart with beams, drones, and bursts of energy that twisted space itself. But for every enemy destroyed, 2 more appeared. The battle ended with the Devourers retreating. But the Zelvar fleet was nearly gone. The storm ahead from that day, the galaxy knew the Devourers were real. The humans were not their enemies, but it was also clear the humans could not fight this war alone. Fleet by fleet, reluctant alliances began to form. Old rivals sat at the same tables. War factories ran day and night. The gathering storm had begun, and somewhere beyond the rim, in the cold and empty dark, the Devourers were massing. The darkness beyond the galaxy was alive. For centuries, it had waited. Silent, patient, hungry. The Devourers, creatures born from the void itself, moved like shadows across the outer rim. Their ships were not machines, but living horrors, flesh and metal fused in nightmare forms. Now, they had arrived in force at the first contact near the edge of the galaxy. A mining colony on the planet Verdun Prime sent a distress call. The colony's sensors had detected strange movements in the asteroid belts, huge shapes without engines, moving with impossible speed. Commander Lyra of the Vareth Coalition fleet was the first to respond. She arrived with 5 warships ready to defend the helpless miners. But what she found was not a battle. It was a massacre in slow motion. Asteroids floated silently, shattered. Mining rigs were broken and burning. No miners answered the calls. Suddenly, from the shadows, the black ships emerged. The Devourers unleashed. Lyra's fleet opened fire. Plasma bolts and missiles screamed through space. The black ships did not dodge. They absorbed the attacks, their hulls shifting and healing. Tentacles of living metal lashed out, ripping warships apart. Screams and explosions echoed through the void. One by one, Lyra's ships were destroyed. Her own flagship barely escaped, limping away with most of her crew lost. The human warship returns. Just when all hope seemed lost, a new light appeared. The Sol's Wrath, the human warship. Dropped from hyperspace, like a comet of steel and fire. Captain Rhys Arden stood on the bridge, eyes cold but determined. Engage all weapons, he ordered. The hidden weapons the human ship was unlike anything Lyra had seen. Its hull shimmered with energy fields that bent light. Its weapons fired beams that warped space itself. Small drones, invisible to most sensors, swarmed the enemy ships. Gravity cannons pulled apart the Devourers. Monstrous hulls like paper. The battle turned in an instant. The tide changes under Arden's command. The human ship tore through the Devourer fleet. Black ships exploded or vanished into space, shredded by unseen forces. Lyra watched in awe as the humans fought with precision and power beyond any technology she knew. This is not just a warship, she thought. It is a weapon of legend. The Devourers strike back, but the Devourers were not defeated. They retreated to their shadow fleets and called for reinforcements. In the deep dark, larger ships stirred, creatures of unimaginable size and horror. Battle was only beginning. The galactic alarm news of the battle spread fast. Galaxies far and wide began to mobilize. Old enemies put aside their grudges to prepare for the war to come. Velra, the Ithari scholar, sent urgent messages. The Devourers are real. The humans are our only hope. The human warning. Captain Arden addressed the galaxy again, his voice calm and steady. The enemy is ancient and merciless. They consume everything. We have fought them for centuries, but this fight will require all of us. Prepare your fleets. This war will be long, and no one will survive alone. The unseen power as the human warship vanished into the stars. Whispers spread of its true power, a secret weapon hidden within. Some said it could bend reality. Others claimed it held the power to stop time itself. But no one knew for sure. The calm before the storm. Galaxy held its breath. The Devourers gathered in numbers. Beyond counting. The humans prepared their weapons. And somewhere in the darkness, the first moves of a war that would shake the stars forever were being made. The galaxy was at a crossroads. The ancient enemy, the Devourers, were no longer a distant threat. They had returned with terrible force. Worlds burned in silence. Fleets vanished like shadows in the dark. But amid the chaos, a new hope rose. Human warship, Sol's Wrath, stood as a symbol, a warning and a promise. The message to all aboard the Sol's Wrath. Captain Rhys Arden prepared a broadcast that would reach every corner of the galaxy. His voice was steady, commanding attention. To all who hear this, I am Captain Rhys Arden of the human fleet. The enemy you face is not just a story. It is real, ancient, and merciless. The Devourers will consume everything if left unchecked. We have fought them for centuries. Alone, we barely survive. Together, we may have a chance. We offer alliance, technology, and knowledge. Refuse, and you risk extinction. The message echoed through star systems, the reactions on many worlds. The response was shock. Some governments welcomed the offer. They saw the humans as saviors. Others were suspicious, fearing human motives. Chancellor Ilvan of the Vareth Coalition spoke sharply at the Galactic Council. Why should we trust a race we know so little about? Their power is great, but their intentions are unknown. General threats of the Zelvar hissed. We should prepare to fight them if they turn hostile. The call for council despite the divisions. The threat forced the empires to call an emergency meeting. The great hall on Soreth Prime was filled with tense faces. Velra spoke calmly. The Devourers do not discriminate. They will destroy us all if we do not unite. She turned to the hologram of the Sol's Wrath. Humans have knowledge and weapons beyond our understanding. We must consider alliance before it is too late. The human envoy, small diplomatic ship, arrived at Soreth Prime, carrying Captain Arden himself. He stepped into the great hall, tall and imposing. His voice was firm but respectful. We do not come as conquerors, but as allies. The Devourers threaten all life. Together we can stand. The suspicion and trust. Not everyone was convinced. Chancellor Ilvin challenged Arden. How can we be sure you will not use this war to take control? Arden met his gaze. Our history is written with the blood of our enemies and our friends. We fight to survive, not to conquer. He paused. But if trust is too difficult now, watch us fight the devourers. Judge us by our actions. The sharing of knowledge. Slowly, the humans began sharing their technology, advanced shields, energy weapons, and the mysterious gravity cannons. Alien engineers studied them with wonder. Velra worked closely with the human scientists, learning secrets lost to time. The war preparations factories across the galaxy shifted to war production. New warships were built, armed with human designs. Armies trained in new tactics, preparing for a battle that would decide the fate of all. The tensions within, despite the cooperation, old rivalries and fears lingered. Some alien leaders doubted the humans, some feared being overshadowed by their new allies. Secret factions worked to sabotage the alliance, the first joint fleet after months of preparation. The first joint fleet was assembled, a massive armada of human and alien warships. Captain Arden stood on the bridge of the flagship. He looked at the holographic map showing the approach of the Devourist. The moment of truth was near. The calm before battle as the fleet moved into position. Silence fell over the bridge. No one spoke. Every eye was fixed on the approaching enemy fleet, a black wave of living ships, hungry for destruction. The final warning. Arden's voice broke the silence. Today, we fight for the future of the galaxy. Stand strong, stand together. He looked out at the stars. May we survive what comes next. The enemy approaches from the darkness. The Devourer fleet appeared, vast, terrifying, unstoppable. The war was about to begin. The galaxy held its breath. The vast armada, a shining line of human and alien warships, waited at the edge of the battlefield. Ahead, the Devourers loomed, a black, writhing mass of living machines, hungry and unstoppable. This was the moment. Every race feared. This was the final stand, the calm. Before the storm. Captain Rhys Arden stood on the bridge of Saul's Wrath. His eyes scanned the swirling darkness on the VIEWSPREEN. Around him, the mixed fleet of Zelver, Verith, Ithari, Kriveth, and human ships held position. No words were spoken. Only the steady hum of engines filled the air. Arden clenched his fists. Today we fight not just for survival, but for the future. The first contact. Suddenly, the silence shattered. Devourer tendrils shot out from the darkness, striking the first line of defense. Zelvar cruisers exploded in fiery blossoms. Verith frigates were torn apart by living claws, but the fleet held firm. The human strike. Arden gave the order. Unleash everything. The Saul's Wrath fired its energy beams, bending space as the beams twisted toward the enemy. Drones launched silently, invisible until they struck, cutting through Devourer hulls like knives. Gravity cannons pulsed, ripping apart the living ships. The Devourers screamed, a terrible, alien sound, as their ships burned and exploded. The turning tide. The joint fleet pushed forward, inspired by the human courage and power. Alien ships fought with renewed strength, coordinated by Arden's strategy. Every destroyed enemy ship was a victory for hope. But the Devourers were many, the enemy's wrath. The Devourers regrouped and unleashed a new horror. Massive beasts born of living metal, creatures larger than battle cruisers. They charged into the fleet, crushing ships beneath their claws. The desperate fight. The allied fleet scrambled to respond. Ships fired everything: plasma, missiles, gravity bombs. Arden ordered the Saul's Wrath to engage the largest beast directly. The clash of titans. The Saul's Wrath locked onto the creature. Energy shields flared as the beast struck, slamming against the human ship with terrible force. Arden's crew fought desperately to keep the ship steady. Then, the human warship fired its secret weapon, a pulse that distorted reality around the beast. The creature screamed as its form began to unravel. The cost of victory, the pulse destroyed the beast, but the Saul's wrath took heavy damage. Alarms blared. Arden knew the battle was far from over. The fleet's resolve despite losses. The fleet pushed onward. Alien and human ships fought side by side, united by a single purpose. The secret weapon deep within the Saul's wrath. Scientists prepared. Another weapon. A device that could turn the tide of the entire war. Arden watched, knowing the moment to use it was coming. The final push. The Devourers launched a final massive assault. The fleet responded with everything it had. The cliffhanger as the battle reached its peak. A new shadow appeared beyond the battlefield, an even larger devourer, awakening from the dark. Arden stared in disbelief. The war was only beginning.